I'll definitely go back though. It's definitely going back to you.
All right, so hopefully the internet works today.
Yes.
I literally have
Also good.
a whole new thing, a whole new setup. So
Oh, you didn't fix it?
he came in and like installed an entire new internet today. So hopefully it's all fixed up. Um, so the Germany squad, I actually did no preparation for this. So let's look at who's left
Sure.
off the Germany squad.
So as per the list, Hummels, Brandt, there's a few there.
Do you actually
Sa
want to start with Carlo?
Sure, yeah, yeah, we can start with that. That was the big surprise. Is that like definitely confirmed, or is that? I know Fabrizio Romano put it out, so it's probably pretty legit.
I mean, like
But
the thing about that is that there's no way to like confirm it because it's
mhm,
like who's he gonna sign a contract with that says that he's not you know what I mean? Like there's no way. But people listening, Carlo Ancelotti said he's retiring at Real Madrid, which means that he could be coaching for 20 more years and retire from Real Madrid, or it could mean he's coaching for 1 or 2 more years. But like basically, like the speculation for the past couple years has been that Carlo is going to leave Real, coach Brazil, maybe take some time off, and then go back. And so there's been this clock on Real Madrid of like how many more years does Carlo have? And now it's like Carlo's going to stay there. He said he's going to stay there for the rest of his career, which I think is like an incredible, impactful decision. First of all, Xavi Alonso must feel like a dick right now, right?
I mean, to be fair, they're on the eve of the Champions League final. I don't think the coach would be coming out and saying anything else. Would he? Wouldn't be like coming out, Carlo Ancelotti especially because he's so composed. Oh, by the way, like I'm leaving next year to Brazil just on the eve of a Champions League final. You want Rodrigo came out with some quotes the other day that were mistranslated and it sounded like he might want to leave. He's come out yesterday and said completely taken out of context. I don't want to go anywhere. This is Madrid. Like I want to stay here. Ancelotti's basically done the same thing. These are the kind of positive things you want to hear leading up to a massive game like the Champions League final. I don't think there'd be any sort of stories like that leaked. They run better than Man United. This is Man United in the final. Yeah, it'd be managers getting sacked, players want to leave, the whole
Yeah,
squad's getting replaced, just chaos everywhere. So no, I think you got to take it with a pinch of salt. It depends how long the Madrid fans keep him there as well. They do turn on their own, as we've seen in the past with Ronaldo and others.
yeah.
So as long as he keeps providing, and then they keep churning out these great transfers and keep winning titles, I could see this going on for 2 to 5 years potentially, no longer than five, because yeah, that would be an eternity at Real Madrid. But let's see if he fucks up next season, they're eighth and they're out of the Champions League early. Xabi Alonso's names will be rung in the stands. The fans will be calling for him.
So you think this is kind of BS? You think he's just saying this to like get his team going?
I think it helps for sure. I don't think it's the sole purpose for it, but I
Yeah,
think, like you said, the speculation being around for so long. Oh, this is one more year, and then Brazil, one more year, and Brazil. It's just the perfect thing to say on the eve of the Champions League final with like the players on side, everyone kind of like trying to focus. Like, oh, by the way, Gaffer's going to be here. Like he doesn't plan on. He loves us. He loves this place. What else are we going to do? We're going to fight maybe even an extra 5% for him on the pitch on
yeah.
Saturday night.
I
It's just typical like good management. Just a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like if like I don't disagree with that. For me, it's like if that was his goal, I think he would have said it differently. I think he would have said like, you know, this Brazil speculation is BS. I'm not thinking about Brazil. I'm just thinking about what's in front of me. Like, I don't want to be in charge of a national team, like that type of thing. But you're right that like this does put it to bed. But if Carlos stays at Real, I'm just as a Liverpool fan, I'm just upset because it's like the team has had our number. Like we've never been able to beat them. And they just like just wipe the floor with us, and they wipe the floor with everybody. He is just like is he one of the greatest coaches of all time? Would you put him on the Mount Rushmore or
Definitely up
the
there.
Mount Buckingham Palace? I don't know what the Brits have.
Oh,
That's
he's oh
Rushmore.
no, Mount Rushmore works, but no, he's definitely up there, like top three for sure. Just based on achievements, the number of clubs he's done it at. I think he's the only one that's won league titles in all the top five leagues in Europe.
Yeah,
He's the only one. He's the only one to win four Champions Leagues, potentially five now come Saturday night, and he's won a few as players, or those just as managers. So he's just too many. Obviously, it's risky when you're just looking at trophies, but the fact that he's done it multiple places in all the top five leagues and all those Champions Leagues, for me, he probably goes down. number two, first would be Ferguson for me, obviously biasly, but also just his accomplishments.
Yeah.
Ancelotti second, Guardiola third. Ancelotti Guardiola could flip for me, but those would be my top three.
I
Just insane amount of accomplishments.
I
And
think.
like you said, sorry,
Oh yeah, continue.
sorry, just last thing. Like you said before, he's kind of shut the door on Brazil without really calling them out. So if it does turn around next season after, sorry, that maybe there's Real Madrid struggling, maybe he's not fully said, oh no, Brazil. I said no a couple of years ago. He's kind of kept them sweet without spoiling anything at Real. It's the perfect Ancelotti response. Like he's mastered it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Ancelotti that I think makes him special is, I mean, like not to keep on harping on Pep because like it is just me being salty, but I think that like he is kind of the anti-Pep in a lot of ways, where he's just incredible in the Champions League. In the actual league, like he does well, but he's not like, he's not taking home league. Like I think he underperforms a little bit in the league, right? Like for example, last year Barcelona had no business winning La Liga last year. And like
Right.
Real Madrid basically gave that up. The interesting thing I think about him is just like one, as you said, he just goes in so many different places and wins. Like you can never, make that sort of Pep critique, or maybe even like I would never make this critique versus Ferguson, but like you can make the critique of like, oh, he only did it at Man U, like he's never done it anywhere else. Like you can't make that to Carlo because he's like anywhere I've gone, I've been able to be successful. And on top of that, what I actually think that people misunderstand this about Real Madrid over the past 4 years just because they've been so successful. Like the past 4 years in Real Madrid, they should have been a really bad club. Not a bad club, but a middling club. They should have been like kind of what Barcelona is right now. They should have been kind of what Man U is right now because they lost Cristiano Ronaldo, who was like by far their best player. And like it was just like, what are you going to do? And like most clubs just completely implode. And Carlo was just like, nah, we're in win now mode. Like we got Vinny, we got Cruz, we got Modric, we could do this, and then they did twice.
You know, he knows how to rally the troops. I think with Ferguson and a few others, with Ferguson, the argument was not just at United. He did it at Aberdeen, a much smaller club, beat Real Madrid in the European Cup, not the European Cup, but in the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup or something like that. So
Yeah.
he's done it on a small scale. The thing that helps Ancelotti with both arguments is that he's won league titles everywhere. He's also gone and managed teams like Everton, so he's put himself out there. Like he got sacked by Everton, but here he is, Real Madrid legend. Like, how does that make it make sense? You know what I mean? Like, it's baffling.
And I think that's
So
the thing that makes his teams. I think what makes his team so great is that they're kind of a reflection of that. Because like um Pep kind of like preaches this, but it's not actually as true in his team as is Ancelotti, where his teams are just very free. And like you can make mistakes, you can do everything, like you can like really have this free form. And Ancelotti just has a general attitude towards life. It's just like, all right, I'll go to Everton. Oh, it doesn't work, whatever. I'll go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like he really doesn't have this sort of like he's not scared. And because of that, like the defining characteristic of Ancelotti's teams is how they're not scared. 91
yeah.
minutes, down 2 goals. Who cares? We're gonna win this. We know we're gonna win this. Like we just have to figure out how. But we know the ending is that Ancelotti's gonna win.
Yeah. That City game a couple of years ago when in 2022 when they were literally 1-0 down, they had to score 2 goals and they scored in the 93rd and 91st and 93rd minute. Rodrigo got both, I think.
I think
And then it's like
Benzema got
game
the
on. And
first
then
one.
yeah, he got one. I think he scored the penalty in
Oh, you're right.
injury
Yeah,
time. He got the
you're right.
final goal. But Rodrigo comes on out of the blue off the bench, bangs in 2 goals. Everyone's talking about Vinicius Junior. Rodrigo comes out of nowhere, does Man City. Did him again this year, scored the first goal in the second leg at the
Yeah,
Etihad. So that's why I love Rodrigo. It's Man City killer. But that's what these Ancelotti teams, these great Real Madrid teams and great teams in general, they just have this ability to just never say die. Look at Bayern Munich this year. Like they were 1-0 up with 3 minutes to go. And then Hosselu, of all people, an ex-Stoke City striker that's been relegated with them from the Premier League and pops up with 2 goals. Like never
it
say die attitude. It's priceless, and they do it for the gaffer because he has
yeah,
their backing.
they love him so much. I mean, it's interesting thing about Rodrigo is that at the time, I mean, we kind of like think of him as like a staple of the lineup, but at the time, that right wing spot was kind of a wild card. Like no one really knew what was going to happen from week to week, and it kind of belonged to Asensio, and everyone was just like, Asensio really shouldn't own this spot. but Rodrigo hadn't really stepped up yet. And that was the game where it was like, okay, Rodrigo's getting the spot. Like it's
You know,
ridiculous.
they were playing Valverde up there for a while as well. I remember he got the assist for the goal in the final for
Yeah.
Vinicius. So they have this. Again, they have great players that can sort of play multiple positions really well, do the hard work. But then, like I said, when it's time to step up, the main guys will sort of take that spot. They'll claim a mistake.
That that Modric assist against Chelsea is still like seared in my memory. That was just the coolest. But yeah, let's look
This
at Germany. Their holdouts. So there was Mats Hummels, Sule,
Yep.
Goretzka, Emre San, Julian Brandt, Nabri, Werner, and Adiyami. So I know you said something about Hummels yesterday. So while we were like scratching. So if you want to repeat that.
Yeah, so just a friend of ours, German mate of ours from back in the day, he actually told me the reason because I was shocked. Hummels has had the season of his life. Like he should definitely be in the squad.
Yeah,
But Nagelsmann's trying to sort of get this sort of core group of players together on side. They don't want any sort of distractions or they don't want to rock the boat essentially. So Hummels is the guy that isn't shy to critique if his team not doing well. He'll call people out. So I think that was more of like a political move. Like, all right, he's had a good season. We have centre backs like Rudiger that can cover, but he should normally be in it. But if something starts going wrong early stages in the group stage of the tournament, he might pipe up, might disturb the harmony and the balance of the team. So
yeah,
Nagelsmann's kind of going with that with him, which is the only thing that makes sense. There's no other reason why wouldn't be in the squad. It's crazy.
yeah.
Goretzka is another very Goretzka and Gnabry. Those must be injury related or something. Like I don't know why those two are not in this team. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And then
I think
Kareem Adri
Bayern just got
as well.
shafted as a whole. Like, I think this is the lowest amount of Bayern Munich players in a Germany squad in like decades. Like, they've just completely been kept out of the squad. And I mean, I think there's something that you and I kind of disagree about is that like I don't really care as much about this year's performance. Like we were talking about this with Sterling, where like Sterling has had a bad year, and like for me, it's more of just like let's look at their entire resume type of thing. But I think that's kind of what's happening with Bayern Munich is that the players have not been performing, and so I mean the team hasn't been performing really. They've been embarrassed this year, and so the skipper was just like, "Hey, sorry, like we can't have an entire Bayern Munich squad, and Bayern Munich hasn't even won the league this year."
I think it's definitely a combination of that. You got to remember, Julian Nagelsmann was also Bayern Munich manager, and these players were there when he got the sack.
That's
So
true.
sometimes managers can kind of. I'm not saying this is the case, but I remember when Luis Enrique became Spain coach after his treble-winning season at Barcelona, but then he got the sack afterwards. He didn't pick a lot of Barca players that could have still gone into that team. So sometimes there's a little bit of like ill hurt feelings or just sour grapes a little bit. But I
Yeah,
guess with Gnabry, injury related, Goretzka maybe performance. And then going back to the Sterling point, for me, yeah, it's about this year because obviously that's the tournament we're in. Tournament football is different like that. But for me, Sterling's been off it for about ever since he left City. He's not really been the same. So
yeah,
that's about a good two plus years of just average. So I'm actually happy. I was worried he was just going to retain his spot because it's easy that way. But
yeah.
Southgate made some really brave calls like we discussed yesterday. So I'm happy with that.
I do have to say with
The last
Southgate,
player you mentioned,
like I don't agree with a lot of his calls, but like I do agree that they're brave, and I do appreciate brave calls. I do appreciate
no,
being like, I'm going to war with
I
these guys. I'm choosing who it
yeah.
is, and I don't want this guy. I respect
You know
that.
what? No, for this lineup for this Euros, the team he's put out so far, he's obviously going to trim it down from 33 to 26. But so far, so good. Like he's got my backing. Let's see what he can do. He's got
Yeah.
me hoping again.
So this can be kind of a controversial opinion for me, I think, but Timo Werner, I think they should have kept Timo Werner. And my reason for it is that like I think that one of the most critical pieces of a football team that you can have is a extremely fast forward that you can sub in at the 70th minute. Like I think that if you can have one of those players going to war with, you're in every single
Yeah.
game because you can be down 2-1 and you can just sub them in, park the bus, and then just have a great counterattack. And I think that Timo Warmer is that person. And if not Timo Warmer, Karim Adeyemi is also that person. And I don't know why
He, I,
he chose to not go with any of these fast players.
So with Werner, I think this is the thing with fast players in general. It's great to be fast, but you need to have some sort of end
True.
product, either as a finisher or you can be able to cross the ball and find your teammates. If you're just running up and down the line, that's great. But like if we're not getting an end ball or a delivery in, it kind of just it's wasting time. It's kind of foolish. We're not going to get anywhere. So with Timo Werner, he hasn't registered many assists or many goals. Spurs have actually bought him on for another loan for next season, which kind of surprised me actually. I didn't think he did that much since January, but fair play to him. Spurs are Spurs. They're going to do these kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm glad he let him have him. Watch him score a couple goals now next season. Fucking cunt. But Kareem Adeyemi, he's one that baffled me because he's killed it at Dortmund, and I've seen him put in a shift. So not, I think the inverse of your point, where players are tired, they're 2-1 up or it's 2-2, they're running out of legs. I've seen him come on and chase back like people like Mbappe, make tackles in. He's young, he's hungry. That one is a little bit of a surprise as well, actually. But maybe they just think they have enough in the squad at that point right now. He will definitely be one for the future. There's no doubt. But maybe they think this will just come a bit early.
Yeah, do you think Adiyami is going to be like a Pulisic or a Dembele who's going to get sold in the next year or two? Because that kind of is Dortmund's MO, is building up these players, and like he seems
Yeah,
like the next one
I
up,
think
right?
I think he definitely gets sold. I think maybe in a 3 to 4 year period, they're gonna let him. They're gonna let him cook for a little bit because obviously they've got Sancho back now. If they keep him, they'd want to probably try and build something. If Bayern are gonna, I don't think Bayern are gonna be that much stronger next year, where they'll run away with the league. So if you have Leverkusen already challenging and you're Dortmund, why not try build up a team for a year or two? See if you can sort of make it a between the three of you who can get the title, sort of break up that dominance a bit more, sort of
Yeah.
seize your chance, and then obviously there'll also be the option there to once these players are built up to sell them on for profit, which they will. I think 1 to 2 years will be too soon for him. I think
It
three to
must be
four is probably
so
more the range.
frustrating to be a Dortmund fan. Because like if you're a Benfica fan or a Porto fan or like an Ajax fan, like you get it. Like you're not, like you are a second league team. But if you're a Dortmund fan, you're like, look, we're in the big four. Like, we can be a competitive team if we want, but we keep on selling off all of our top talent. Like if you were to compile a list of all the top talent that Dortmund has sold in the past 5 years, that just that alone would be one of the best teams in football, right? Like,
Definitely. I mean, I've spoken to some fans about it. I know some Ajax fans. I know like fans from not from Benfica, but they support like the Portuguese league.
yeah,
Um, there's almost a sense of pride. It sucks obviously that the players get sold, but as long as they perform for those couple of years and if they get a title or two, the
yeah,
fans adore them. The fans kind of accept their role in the football ecosystem,
yeah,
and they just love it. Especially if the players making like if a player comes in, let's say like a Jude Bellingham for Dortmund, or even Erling Haaland comes in for a couple of years. They won like the German version of the FA Cup. Didn't get to win the league, but went for hefty price tags, brought a lot of money in. Still a good relationship with the fans. Like Jude Bellingham, the Champions League final, those Dortmund fans, if he does score, which he might, I think, the Dortmund fans would, if especially if it's a great goal, they would give him a bit of love, be like, yeah, fair enough. So they
yeah,
have that close knit relationship. So they accept it. It's almost like an acceptance. Whereas if it happens at other clubs, it's maybe looked frown. Even at United, when Ronaldo went to Real Madrid, we're like, shit, yeah, you know what, we get it. He's won everything with us. It sucks. We'd love
yeah,
to have kept him, but just tough luck, innit? This was your dream. You always wanted to play for Real. So there's always, unless you're Real Madrid, there's usually always a bigger fish up the hierarchy in football. So you kind of make your peace with it.
yeah,
But in that case, the Dortmund would be more of a piss take if they brought a person in or raised the player. And let's say he ran his contract down and went to Chelsea for a free.
yeah.
That would be more vilified. Like, how like you should have brought in, we raised you. A lot of young English players are going to Germany Bundesliga now to get developed. So they go into Germany, they get their minutes nice and early, they get trained very well, and then they get sold on for a profit, either back to the English league or Spain or wherever. So I think the fans kind of accept it and they're happy as long as you put 110% in and you go for good money. It's a win-win.
See, I think I agree with you. I don't think they're mad at the players at all. I think they're more mad at like the team. They're just like mad at like the ownership. They're like, can we just like become like a contending team just like once? Like, can we keep these players? Because I think you're completely right. Like they're not mad at like Jude Bellingham or Erling Haaland. Like they're like, we completely understand this team is clear that they don't want to compete. So you want to go, you want to go. But I think they're just like, if I was them, I'd get to a point where the team was like, dude, just like let's make a run at this. Let's keep some of this talent.
That's where the football finances get a little bit interesting as well, because Dortmund are a club that have actually gone bust before. And lo
Yeah,
and behold, it was Bayern Munich were the ones that sort of saved them back in the day. Were like, kind of, here you go, we'll make sure you still exist, kind of thing. Without
yeah,
them, they'd be finished. So they kind of almost lord that over their heads. So even if Dortmund are, I remember the 2012s, 2013s when Dortmund won back to back, 2011, 2012 when they won back to back league Bundesliga titles, Champions League final against Bayern. Like this was a team that was going to be there to stay.
yeah,
Dortmund nicked a good few. Bayern nicked a good few of them on frees as well. What was crazy? They got Mario Götze for free, and then they got Lewandowski for free. That would have hurt. That would have been a piss take because A, they're going to your direct rival. B,
yeah,
they're going for free, so you're not going to get a big paycheck for them. And that was kind of the dismantling. So Bayern almost lord over them, like, yeah, we saved you that time. So any good player that's come up, we're just gonna maybe not even pay fair market value, which is crazy.
yeah, and that was Klopp too.
Yes, it was Klopp's Dortmund. Yeah, broke
So
apart that whole team. Crazy.
do you hear something crazy? So Lewandowski is my like third cousin.
Are
He was
you fucking with me? Being serious now?
what?
Are you being serious, or is this like one of those poor
No, no,
jokes?
I'm
Like, what is
serious.
this?
So he was at my he was at his wife and his mother were at my grandfather's funeral.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh shit, fair
Oh yeah,
enough.
no, I mean he's been dead like 10 years. I'm just saying that like that's that's how close they are to my family is that they and his mother made a movie about my great grandmother. So
Oh no,
I need to go to Spain and see if I can like get free tickets to a match or something.
yeah. That's. I mean, he's a hell of a striker. That's going to be another one of those top. Like, I think he's top three for a while. He's been top three strikers. He was just behind Ronaldo and Messi back in the day. Like, he was very close.
Yeah,
So there was a year he should have won the Ballon d'Or. I believe it was 2020 where he just destroyed everyone. But then because of COVID, they cancelled the Ballon d'Or, which was criminal. They should have just given it to him. He
yeah.
deserved that.
I mean the way I see it is you have Messi, Ronaldo, and then you have Lewandowski and Neymar as kind of the two.
Yeah, those are the top four back then. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they were really. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
in terms of the next lineup, I have France, and France only has one snub that I think is actually a snub because France is the most loaded international roster outside of Brazil, in my opinion. Um, so Nkunku is out of the squad. That's that's the only one that I can see being kind of like an actual snub.
Just just hasn't played enough. He's come on towards the end now for Chelsea, scored a couple goals towards the end of the season, but I think he's just missed so much football through injury. And that kind of player where it's a pacey winger, kind of like your instinct finisher kind of guy, you need him playing football, especially leading up to the tournament. I think he might be a lot of ring rust there. I could see why that. Yeah, no, I could see why that could look like a snub, but I think they're well stocked. I think that one's just more injury based as opposed to not good
Yeah.
enough to be in the squad.
I mean, plus even if he was full health, even if he was kept out of it, it's like the France squad is so deep, so much
Yeah,
talent
yeah.
that like and anybody can be snubbed from that squad. Like if N'Golo Kante didn't make that squad, I'd be like, that's weird, but like I still get it. Like it's still like
Yeah, it's
there's
crazy.
probably some
They
other
actually
players.
they
What?
drafted him back in. He wasn't going to be part of their plans originally. They actually just drafted him back in. He is in their squad this year, but a lot of people thought since he moved to Saudi and his legs were going towards the end of his Chelsea career, they
Yeah,
thought this would be it. It's interesting that he's been called back in. That's cool. I think he could play a good part for them, a
yeah.
bit part. Sure.
So let's go to Italy. So Italy, we have Ciro Immobile, Locatelli, Verratti, Zaniolo, Insigne, and that's oh, and then Moise Kean. So one thing I want to say about Immobile is that he has the worst name for a striker in my mind because like his name is Immobile. Like it should be mobile. It's sort of like Golini. He's a goalie. It should be like that's the worst possible name. You don't want to name Golini because his entire purpose is to not. They should switch the names. Like Ciro Immobile should be Ciro Golini, and vice versa. I mean that Immobile makes sense to me just because like Lazio hasn't had a great year, right? I don't really follow
He
Italy that
scored quite a few last year. He scored a few goals. He was quite prolific last year, but maybe I think he might have tailed off. He's also up there. He's definitely north of 30 now as well. So I think Italy trying to go for more younger, youthful squad. They've got a couple of good strikers. I don't know if Belotti made the squad, but he's one from I don't know if he's still at Torino, but he was a solid player a couple of years ago, banging in a lot of goals.
I think I have a friend who's a huge fan of Italy, and the one snub that he was really pissed about was Verratti, because Verratti is kind of like the like he is the Italian spirit, and I can't really even think of a player who embodies his team as much as Verratti does with anybody else. Like, I mean, maybe Harry Kane, but like, that's kind of a sad state of affairs when like Harry Kane is like your, what do you think that is? Do you think that's just age?
That's the one I actually agreed with the most. And this is gonna be a little bit of a hot take for me now. I think Variety has been overrated in his career throughout. I think he's a
Okay.
very good technical player. He's the kind of player that, when you're winning, everything's going rosy. He can slow the game down. He can, but if you start like the PSG team of the last 5 years or so before he left, he wasn't the only one. Don't by no stretch of the imagination was he the only one. But a lot of times when they were bottling those performances, he would just disappear in games. Like you'd see him getting bullied off the ball. He wouldn't be able to have the same composure and the way to sort of control the game. So I think even in Italy as well, like obviously international football is a slower scale. I'm not too disappointed with the Variety one. I always thought he was a little bit overrated. I think there's a new midfielder at PSG now. I've forgotten his name. Um, God, who was it? It was a young guy that's come in now. He
Are
scored a few goals in
you're
the
not talking
knockout.
about Idrissa Gay, are you?
No, 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 no. This is a young guy. He's just coming this season. Uh God, how am I gonna bear with me one second? Let me find this is gonna bother me now.
One thing to make if you don't mind me making another bad joke about football, but I find it funny that Idrissa Gay is incredibly homophobic. His last name is,
Really?
yeah, he's like famously like
Oh,
really
right.
uh
Okay, so yeah, Vitinha. That's the midfield I'm talking about. So this
okay.
year, Vitinha was brought in, and
Yeah.
he was like anti-Verratti, like same sort of. I think Verratti was more technically skilled, but he just could take the game by the scruff of the neck, Vitinha, and sort of get things done, ping a shot from 30 yards, pick those passes. So I think Verratti for me was just a bit too slow or too casual on the ball. Great for when you're winning, but when you're on the back foot, he'd be one of the first few that would just fold for me in the PSG shirt. Italy, not so much, but um, yeah, I'm not surprised by the Verratti one. There's other midfielders there. Locatelli is one I actually rate quite highly. I'm a little bit disappointed he's not in there because he's a sort of all-action combative midfielder. I think that's something that Italy need more of, but I'm not the manager. So yeah, Locatelli probably surprised me more than Verratti.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Like I can see that argument. Like I've always laid that at the feet of Neymar and Mbappe, like them folding just because they are like the public faces. But if your theory is that it's the midfield that kind of folds first, and then Mbappe and Neymar just don't have like the will to rally around the team, that's that's an interesting point. I can see that. Which would be interesting
I
because
mean,
Mbappe is now going to
Neymar's
Real Madrid, where they have like a much more cohesive structure.
exactly like if you look at the PSG team, even though they kind of bottled it this year as well, but some of those performances, I noticed the midfield weren't the first to sort of drop, especially that centre mid thing. Vitinha was always, even when they were losing, he was always like buzzing around trying to get something done. Whereas Verratti sometimes he'd ping a beautiful 30-yard pass and he'd kind of just ghost. He wouldn't be as influential in a game, and that's because I think they're slightly different players as well. But yeah, I think Verratti, brilliant quality player, but like for example, if he came to the Premier League, I think he'd get eaten alive. I think he'd get found out very quickly in the Premier League. The pace would kill him.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking right now. Do we have the groups for the Euros? Is that already set?
Hold on. Yep, we have those. So England are with Serbia. So Germany first group A, Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. So that's actually a very tough group because Switzerland are pretty solid. Hungary have a good youth players coming in. Scotland hopefully do well, but then obviously Germany should top that group.
So
I say should.
I'm trying to find this for some reason I can't. Let me see. Okay, yeah, Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. Yeah, so it's definitely Germany. I mean, Scotland always overperforms. Like Andy Robertson, for some reason, just having a really good left back can really help you. Like you see with Morocco having Ashraf Hakimi just really helps them. I mean, he's a right back, but still. So are you thinking Germany, Scotland? Who are you thinking out of that group?
Off the top of my head, probably I would say Germany's. But the thing is, Switzerland are always around and about. They're always the dark horses. Switzerland have knocked out bigger teams. They knocked out France from the Euros last time, I believe. So
Yeah.
Switzerland are dark horse. Hungary will not be an easy game. That could easily be Germany, Switzerland. It could be crazy if Germany don't turn up. Someone like the Swiss could top the group.
I
It's
mean,
it's happened years where things like that have happened. So
do you think we're going to see another Germany collapse? Because we saw Germany collapse in the World Cup, and that was
yeah, World Cup.
inexplicable.
Yeah, since they won it in 2014, 2018 they went out the group stage. Euros, England knocked them out, and then again group stage in 2022. So it's a strange one with Germany. I've grown up with Germany being semi-finalists almost every time in every tournament, if not
Remember
winning the
that
damn thing. So
crazy game against Brazil? What was it, 7-2 or something?
7-1, 6-0 up, and
Yeah.
then 5-0 up at halftime. And they said at half, the German players said to each other at halftime, "Let's take it a little bit easy. Let's not embarrass them," which is crazy when you think about
I mean,
it.
the interesting
Nuts.
thing is that Germany and Brazil are kind of the exact opposite in terms of their style of play. Germany, I mean, until recently, has been just like really unathletic, out of shape, Central European guys, but just playing in a cohesive fashion. While Brazil is just a bunch of theatrics, which doesn't really have a lot of cohesive structure a lot of the time. It's funny that Germany just mauled them like that. So Group B, we have Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania. Um, just Croatia
If
skips Italy.
Uh, so that could easily be those top three: Italy, Croatia, and what was the other one?
Italy, Croatia, um, Albania, and Spain.
So yeah, so Italy, Spain, Croatia is for me. It's a toss up between those three. Albania could throw in a few surprises, but really, it should be Italy and Spain. But again, Croatia, you talk about dark horses. They've always been knocking teams out recently. Like they're just those guys, like World
Yeah.
Cup finalists, Euro semi-finalists. They got to the semi-final of the last World Cup as well. Like they just again, depending on if Modric, I'm guessing Modric plays this tournament. I'm guessing this is
Yeah.
like his last tournament. So uh, that's a tough one. It should really be Spain and Italy, 1 and 2. But
But
let's
Croatia can
see. Let's see.
easily. Um,
Well, Croatia could easily as well if Italy don't turn up. So let's see. Spain should definitely qualify out of that group though. They've got too
group,
much talent not to. That would be criminal.
it would be crazy. Yeah. Group C, Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England. Obviously, it's gonna be Denmark, Serbia. I can't see any other.
Our first game against Serbia is going to be tough. I hope the boys are ready for that. It's going to be a physical battle. They're going to have to really fight for it. This is and Denmark have technically sound players as well. This won't be easy, but it really should be. It should be England, Denmark, I think. But let's see. Let's see how the Serbs do.
One thing that I like about the World Cup and the Euros is that they only have well no I mean about the Euros is that they only have one game each. So
Yeah.
you see a lot of crazy stuff happening because you don't have, you tie one game, you
So
lose one game, you're at 1 point, and the tournament's getting away from you. Group D, we got Poland, Netherlands, Austria, and France. I hate to say it, but like it's gonna be France, Netherlands, right?
again, it should be, but Poland and you said Austria as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's for me probably the closest thing to group of death, even though it doesn't sound like it. Austria very well run. Ralph Rangnick is a great manager, can get the teams in good shapes, good young talent there. Poland, similar to Croatia and the others, dark horses can always pop a goal here and there. I actually think this is, from what I've heard so far, this would be the toughest group. But yeah, normally you would think France, Netherlands 1 and 2,
yeah,
but okay, so France should definitely qualify. Similar to the Spain group, Spain qualifies, France qualifies. I wouldn't know who in what order and who the second team could be. Should be
yeah.
the Netherlands, but let's see.
I mean, as a Polish person, I'm always going to root for Poland, too, because I mean, for me, my allegiances is U.S., Poland, England, and then Catholic countries
Oh, we're
is
top
kind of,
three.
is kind of
Not
how I
bad.
do it.
Not bad.
Just because U.S. is like an extension of England, right? So
Yeah.
you guys are kind of our country parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm obviously rooting for Poland. I think that Poland, has it in them to
They've
do an
always been a
upset.
fun. Yeah.
The problem with
They've always
Poland
been a
is
fun
that
team to watch as well. They're always a
they,
fun team to watch. But Euro 2012, Poland took over, but they were doing so well. They were a really fun team to watch. So you hope for them. You hope they do well.
the big problem with Poland, I think, is that Euro 2012 aside, is that like we're kind of one of those teams where people say oh, Poland is gonna screw things over, mix things up. Change. I mean, we were in the group of death in the World Cup as well with Mexico and Argentina. But then like we just don't really get it done. You know what I mean? Like we're just like we almost are the dark horse. We're just a little too gray to be the dark horse a lot of times. We just miss that one goal and we're unable to do it. The interesting thing is that our last game is against France. So, you know, if we could tie,
But
I mean,
potentially, if you fix up on those first two, yeah, yeah, that's
look,
interesting.
if France have 6 points at that point, and let's say Netherlands have 4, then France could throw the game to us because they're like, we'd rather have Poland than the Netherlands. You know what I mean? Like,
You'd hope not, but yeah, yeah. Let's see. You'd hope not. You'd hope it'd be like competitive throughout. But I mean, if it gets to a point where like you said, if France are already through, sometimes the timing of these group games, like depending on who you're playing when, can also work in your favor. So if you guys can nick some results in those first two, France gets back-to-back wins, and then it's like I said, it's not that they throw the game, but maybe they play their second team or their third team, which is still very strong,
yeah,
and maybe they don't come out second. That'd be like Man City in the FA Cup final. You guys nick a result, you could qualify. So I think
yeah.
timing is when you play can be very important as well in the group stage.
Group E, we got Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. I'm thinking Belgium and Ukraine. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
That should go, but Belgium made a big call. If you're talking about players that have been snubbed, they've just left Courtois out of
Wait,
the
really?
lineup, which is yeah,
Because he's
yeah.
injured?
I was going to mention this. He's been injured all season. He's just come back, so this raises two big questions now. He's match fit. Do Real Madrid throw him in, or do they give Lunin the chance, given that he's got him there? That's a big Ancelotti decision to make. And two, if he does play for Real Madrid, Belgium have egg on their face if he goes and wins on the Champions League and then he's not in your Belgium squad just because he's been injured. For goalkeepers, it's slightly different as opposed to outfield players. If they've been injured, yeah, it's not great, but they can kind of slot back in. It's a big call to not bring in Courtois for the Euros. I read it yesterday. I was like, I'm shocked they haven't brought him in.
See,
It's a very big call.
here's what I think about Courtois for Real Madrid. If it was the Champions League semifinals,
Yeah,
100% I'm bringing him in. But the problem with the Champions League finals is that like he hasn't played a game in a year now, and
yeah.
he like if he's just a tiny fraction off, you concede a goal and you lose the game. You know what I mean? So like I for Real Madrid, like I would keep Ludin in there just because Courtois hasn't been playing. I don't even see it as Lunin brought us here. I just see it as the guy's rusty. He hasn't played in over a year. Like this is the most important game of the year. We should keep Lunin in. That being said, like Belgium should definitely have Courtois. That's ridiculous. Courtois is
It was
the
a big show.
best goalkeeper in football, in my opinion. To be fair, it's because he single-handedly beat Liverpool in the Champions League final. Like he made saves that just like that game. If and I'm not shit talking anybody. If Donnarumma was in the goal, if Ederson was in the goal, if any other top goalkeeper was in the goal, we would have won 3-1. We would have won 4-1. We had
Yeah,
so many good goals. Mane had this amazing shot, and like Courtois just like got there. And
yeah.
I that's shocking to me that Belgium kept him out. Wow.
I saw it. Couldn't believe it when I saw it. There's enough time for him to make the Euros. The Champions League final was a bit too soon, and knowing Ancelotti, I don't think he would upset the apple cart by throwing Lunin out and bringing Courtois in. I
Yeah.
think he's a little bit better than that, and he's stacked enough to win it. But for Belgium, their golden generation didn't really deliver the goods under Roberto Martinez. So I was hoping the new manager would be like, all right, it's a last hurrah, let's go for it. To keep Courtois out, I think it's going to cost him. Not no knock against the other keepers. They've got some good young keepers. Verbruggen's a solid goalkeeper for Belgium, but Courtois, like I said, is Courtois. He's got that aura about him.
Yeah.
Let's see, but yeah, so for me, that group Belgium should still go through, but there'll be some surprising results. I think they might concede a few goals maybe that they shouldn't, or
That's shocking to me. Like Courtois for because like goalkeepers, I feel like you have to kind of evaluate separately than everyone else on the pitch. Courtois for me is
exactly.
kind of like the Messi of goalkeepers. Like he is, and again, it,
Or put
it
it
might
this,
just be because he burned us so bad, but he is
yeah,
so good that
put it this way: if you compare Germany to Belgium right now, both of their first choice keepers have been out for majority. Courtois a little bit longer, but Neuer's missed most of the season.
yeah,
Neymar's in. I'm sorry, Neuer's in. Sorry, Neuer's in the team. He's
Yeah,
probably going to start.
yeah.
Courtois, not even in the squad.
And
So
by
okay,
the way,
let's say you draft him into the squad. Maybe don't play him for the first group game, or maybe not the group stage. Play him for the last group game and get him to the knockouts. To have him completely out, like just to deprive yourself of that, that's a big call.
I mean, I
Big
would play
call.
him in all the group games. I would say the group games is the way to get him back into form. Again, you're playing Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. Like let the guy cook a little bit. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing about Germany, as you just said, is that Germany is the most blessed country with keepers, except for maybe Brazil, because they have both Neuer and Ter Stegen. And so it's like they don't need Neuer. They can leave Neuer on the sidelines. Who does Belgium have as their second keeper? Like
I know
Kevin
they've
De
got
Bruyne's
Bart.
cousin? Like, is it
They've
like
got Bart. They've got Bart Verbruggen, who's a very promising up and coming keeper. He's Brighton signed him last year. I was interested in getting him before we got Nana. He's a very good goalkeeper, Verbruggen, but I don't know if he's their direct number two, or maybe he might be third. But it's still a big steep fall off from Courtois. So to deprive yourself completely of that is yeah, it's a brave call. Let's see. Let's see how
I
they
think
do.
you're just gonna have to talk for the next 10 minutes because I'm just in shock right now. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can function.
I saw it when I saw the teams come out. It was like one of those like breaking news, like, oh, Courtois has been left out. I'm like, I didn't think he was going to start the first game, but to be left out completely, brave call. But then managers, these are the calls that make or break, and they might do well, and you might say he was a genius. Let's see.
Yeah. So we have Group F, which is Turkey, Georgia, Portugal, and Czech. I'm guessing it's Portugal and Czech. Do you think?
Between Czech or Turkey, Turkey can turn up as well, man. Turkey, one of them teams, they've got a few players of some caliber there that they can do. They can do some bits for sure. But
Yeah.
definitely, Portugal should top that. Portugal should top that group. But again, with Portugal, this is my beef with Belgium back in the day. Roberto Martinez is not a top tier coach. This man, you talk about Southgate throwing things away. This guy's probably more. He's worse. He's criminal. How he didn't win more with that Portugal team? Yeah, they won the Euro. No, he didn't even win it. Actually, he didn't win anything with Portugal.
Yeah.
But that, sorry, I meant that Belgium team. How he won nothing with that Belgian team is criminal. Yeah,
Yeah.
he got to the semis, he did it right there, but that stacked group, Premier League all-star teams, De Bruyne at his best, Courtois in goal, Lukaku firing him, Eden Hazard when he was unplayable.
Yeah.
How can you not win? England's golden generation of 2006 gets slaughtered for not winning the World Cup that year. This Belgium team of a good 4 to 8 years, it's criminal that they haven't won anything. So he went from a perfectly stacked Belgian team to now a very good stacked Portuguese team, a very good stacked Portuguese team. A lot of good young players coming through.
Yeah.
He's just going to do the same thing again. I don't see Portugal. I might be wrong, but I'm very confident he's going to fuck it up and Portugal won't win shit while he's there. He's not a top tier manager at all. I
One
don't know
thing
how he gets these jobs. It's amazing.
that I like about the Euros, and I kind of wish that the World Cup did this, is that um they allow four of the third place teams to advance. So I'm guessing
Yeah, let's see.
it's going to be, either Croatia or Italy, whoever gets knocked out, Poland, and then, a bunch of scrubs. So besides England, well, I guess make the case for England winning the Euros right now.
Uh, I think with the teams we have, man for man, I think our defense is our weak point, our left back, and maybe our goalkeeper. But I think if you look at our front six, so the top three at the top, holding midfielders, and the two next to him, I don't think anyone can touch us right. We have, but that's what I heard Jamie Carragher say this the other day. The best player in Germany this season, Harry Kane, Englishman. Best player in England, Phil Foden, Englishman. Best player in Spain, Jude Bellingham, Englishman.
Yeah,
That kind of just tells the argument right there. If you have, I can't remember the last time that the best player in the top three leagues all came from the same country and all playing the same team at the same time. This is up to Southgate to say, fuck the defense. Let's concede three, score six. Let's just wipe the teams out in front of us. Go all out for it. Declan Rice is the holding. Kobe Mainu can come in and do a shift, even though I think it's too early for him personally. You've got Jack Grealish, Foden, Saka, Harry Kane. It's just too stacked. It's like that, almost like that Belgian team I was mentioning under Roberto Martinez. We might do a Belgium and just fuck this up somehow, but if we just leave these players to the devices and let them go on the instincts, there's enough there to win games. There's
So
enough.
one thing that's interesting to me is that Trent Alexander-Arnold is listed as a midfielder,
Brilliant. Good. Fucking A. It's
which
about time.
I mean, we've talked about this. Like, he is a midfielder, whether he's a holding midfielder or a central midfielder or even like an attacking midfielder. Like, we need to figure that out because we need him to like play those positions to figure that out. But that's incredibly smart. So, like as you said, like the big problem for you guys is your defense. I mean, are we
Yeah.
going to be rolling out Harry Maguire? Is that happening?
So apparently he's in a race to be fit for the Euros because obviously the squads get trimmed from 33 to 26. So him and Luke Shaw both made the initial 33, which I don't
Yeah,
think Luke Shaw deserves to, but I think it's just the fact that Chilwell's out injured as well. So we have no real recognized left back. So I think if Maguire can prove his fitness, he'll probably start. But personally, I would play John Stones, obviously,
yeah,
and his partner could be Jareth Brantwaite. Give the young Everton kid a shot. He's had a brilliant season. He's number one for tackles in the Premier League against all other defenders this year. He's top three for winning defensive headers and winning attacking headers in both boxes. He's a presence. He's
yeah.
young. He's hungry. He's got a bit of pace about him. Him and John Stones, even though they're linked with City, he's almost like the young John Stones before he went to City when he was at Everton. So I'd play them two together. Carl Walker right back. The left back's where it gets interesting. You could get a little bit creative.
Do you think you can put
Um,
Trippier there?
yes, that's one idea for sure. Play Trippier. Trippier. The thing about Trippier is similar to Trent. They're both dead ball specialists as well.
Yeah.
Quality over the free kick. So that's another feather in the bow. If we get a free kick 20, 25 yards out, depending on the angle, either Trippier or Trent could put that in top bins. No, I have no doubt about that. So
So
that would be the back I would go for. The goalkeeper would probably be Pickford, even though I think Nick Pope is the better goalkeeper. But again, in too many injuries this season, I don't
Pope
think
was
he gets
left
a
out.
shout. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so
So I mean, like my feeling about Luke Shaw is kind of my same feeling about like Raheem Sterling, but we're not going to talk about that again. But like people like Marcus Rashford is I think that when the team struggles, like every player obviously struggles. Like it's hard to be the good player on a bad team, and even when you are the good player on the bad team, I actually kind of think that's a little bit of a red flag. Like when your team is struggling, I kind of want to see you struggling too. And I really have a lot of faith in Luke Shaw. Like he's one of my favorite players, I'd say. Like not like top five, but like top 50. Like I think he's definitely one of my favorite players. So like I would give him the chance at left back. And you can always put Trippier there if he's struggling. Because Trippier, as
yeah.
you said, like you kind of put him in both. One thing that I think is interesting, for some reason I always thought that Gerald Kwanzaa was French. I don't know why. But Gerald Kwanzaa is in
Oh,
the England squad.
he's in the squad. He's in the squad. So I hope that they keep him, Anthwaite, and some of these young boys in there. I like Esri Konsa, Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. We have a very good set of backup centre backs. My
Yeah,
fear is that obviously Maguire's and he plays, and Maguire's one of those players that will cost us a game. He can easily cost us a game. This isn't United hate. This is just facts.
yeah,
Um, so really, I think it should be Branthwaite and Stones, or even Quansah and Stones. Especially, like, let's say if we win the first two group games, in that last group game, especially if we're like guaranteed top spot, play the youngsters, man. Give them a shout out. Let Quansah have a run out. He
yeah,
ended the season very well for Liverpool. I think he scored a couple of goals towards the end. Let these guys get some real life experience. Put Kobe Mainu in second or third group game, see how he does, feels it out. Luke should be brilliant. He's the number one for a reason. Selfishly, as a United fan, because he's been injured all year, I'd rather he took the summer off and come back fresh for us.
yeah.
The worst thing in the world would be he plays a long Euros and then he's injured at the start of next season again. You were kind of, up Shit's Creek, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me with Kwanzaa is that like I think he's great, but he's still very much a backup center back. And like one of the things that I think is critical about the center back position versus like a winger position is you can have a winger underperforming. Like if your winger is shit, like it doesn't really impact your team that much. You just go on the other side. But like if your
That's
center
it.
back
Yeah.
makes one mistake, you lose the game. And for that
Yeah.
reason, like I'm always very hesitant with center backs. So like I would play Kwanzaa as a backup. The thing that I think like really helps England this year, just looking at this lineup, is as you said, like your main strength is in your offense, right? Like you have Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Phil Foden. Like I think you guys are gonna try to if you don't screw it up like you did the Italy match, I think you guys are gonna play like a really possession 70-80%, try to possess the ball type of thing. And the way that those types of offenses always get tripped up is with the counterattack. But you have John Stones, who's fast as lightning. You have Kyle Walker, who's I think one of the fastest right backs in in football. And also, if you put Gerald Kwanzaa in there as a backup, he's also incredibly fast. I think you guys could fight any sort of counterattack that happens. You got Trent Alexander Arnold in the middle, who I sincerely believe that he is going to be like the next Kevin De Bruyne. I think that like we're gonna finally see him unleashed in like his proper spot, and he's just gonna his delivery is just insane. As you talked about, like you've never seen somebody control the game from the right back spot. Imagine having him in the center with Jude
Yeah.
Bellingham, Harry Kane. I, I'm kind of sold on England, man. Like,
I mean, on paper, I mean, it's never one on paper, but if you look at it on paper, it's insane the different things we could do, the different formations we could play, the way we just go for it if we be brave. It's a matter of execution and actually just having that belief to finally let's just go and nick this now. Let's avenge the loss at Wembley in 2021 when we should have beat Italy. Let's go bring a trophy back. Let's keep Southgate in the England job and not linked with Man United as well. Let's
yeah.
just everyone wins. No need
Does
to talk about Emil Southgate.
if um if England wins the Euros and if Real win the Champions League, is it just Jude
Oh,
Bellingham's Ballon d'Or? Like does anyone match up
I
against
think
him?
I think he's I think he's already very close because of the way the La Liga season he had and the fact that they've won most things. Like they won La Liga. If they win it's usually the Champions League winner out of Messi or Ronaldo that year that usually won the Ballon d'Or. Now they're both out of Europe at this
Yeah,
moment in time, so it's impossible for them to win Ballon d'Or.
yeah.
Messi won it last year
Which
because of his
I really did
antics.
not like. I did not like that. I was really
Yeah,
against
I mean,
like
won the World Cup. Won the World Cup. I think personally, Erling Haaland should have won it. He won the treble for crying out loud. Like it should have
yeah.
been him. But
And then not
football
just
has these
that,
politics.
he won the treble on a team that has struggled to win a Champions League, has never won a Champions League, and a coach who has not won the Champions League since 2011, despite winning the Premier League 87 times in 5 years.
Well,
So
I think all the other teammates, like Edison won goalkeeper of the year, Pep won coach of the year. Like all the other guys got what they deserved, in my opinion.
yeah,
And I think the UEFA team of the year was like 90% Man City. It was mostly Man City players in there. So the fact that he didn't, I think he got nominated, but the fact that what else can he do? 60 goals, 60 plus goals in the season and the treble. Like it should have been Haaland's, but Messi win the World Cup was also a big story. So this year, the fact that it's only the Euros, unless another team comes, a small team out of nowhere has a player that just turns up and wins them the Euros, it's really Bellingham to lose now. It has to be
so
because that's why he went to Real Madrid. One of the reasons he went to Madrid was they said to him, "We'll have you win the Ballon d'Or within the next 3 to 5 years." Well, it might happen in his first year. It's crazy.
my question is like it seems like we always have like two players, right? And like every sport, we have like the big rivalry. And after Messi and Ronaldo, it seemed like it would be Mbappe versus Holland. But like,
Yeah.
could it be like, to quote Kendrick Lamar, fuck the big three is just big B? Like, could Jude Bellingham just be like, no, I'm sorry, it's actually my time. Mbappe, you came to my team. Like, I own Real Madrid and I won
Yeah.
the Ballon d'Or, I won the Euros. I'm sorry, but it's Jude Bellingham's time.
This year, I mean, this year, if Bellingham wins Champions League and the Euros, like there's no question. This year, it's all him. But then, if Mbappe, like let's say this year Bellingham wins it after the Champions League final, let's say Mbappe fires France to a Euros win, joins Real Madrid, has a killer next season next year as well. Then there's a big argument. It's going to be like the 3, 4 same usual suspects. Haaland should be in that list as well. Mbappe, Bellingham, Foden really should be talked about, like at least in the
Yeah,
short list now, not just because he's in English. He's had a killer season. So you're gonna have these 4 or 5, these young generation, these 4 or 5 players coming up now, where it's going to be between sort of them every year. It won't be just a top two. I think it'll still be probably a top 4 or 5 now.
yeah,
And same with the coaches as well. These new young coaches, Mikel Arteta being one of the first few, like these new young breed of him, Xabi Alonso, these people we watched playing growing up.
yeah,
This new level of manager coming in, sort of Klopp's now no longer in the game for a minute. And Ancelotti retires sooner rather than later. Pep, he leaves City next year, 115 charges. He might want to take a break from football. We're watching a potential changing of the guard in both the managerial and the player level, which is pretty
yeah.
rare to catch at the same time. It's usually one happens a generation or two before the other.
Yeah.
So to have them both synchronized with these new young players coming in, new young exciting coaches, it's an interesting time. Let's see. But yeah, there's definitely a changing of the guard. The Ballon d'Or, the best young coach, the best coaches moving forward.
I think
It'll
that
be interesting.
might leave to like fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming a beat poet on the West Village. Like the way he wears those turtlenecks, like he should be banging some bongos
Oh,
talking.
he's a golf. He's a golfer for life. If he quits football, it's just going to be golf every day. He loves his golf. He came up to Klopp. I think one year he came up to Klopp in the Community Shield. He just had a little joke with him. He was like, "You get to golf much this year?" And Klopp was like, "No, I'm busy prepping the team." And everyone's like, "Oh, that's Pep's way of trying to see how wired in Klopp is." Like if he said, "Yeah, I golfed a bit," Pep would probably be like, "Yeah, okay, he's taking it easy." The fact
Yeah.
that Klopp was like, "I've had no time, man. I've got to get the team organized for the season." Guardiola's like, "Oh shit, okay, here we go again, round
Yeah.
four."
So I have two more big topics that I think are interesting. One, I know we like did a whole deep dive on the Champions League final, but it's this weekend. So like, do you have any final thoughts, any final predictions on that we didn't cover?
I think 3-1. If Dortmund score, they'll get one. Dortmund might it might be fun. Dortmund might nick a quick goal at the very beginning of the game and be
Yeah,
leading 1-0, and then Real Madrid just do what Real Madrid do, which is come back and destroy. I would put good money on Bellingham scoring. Definitely assisting, but definitely scoring as well. He might get
yeah,
an assist and a goal. But Bellingham being it's almost like the Bellingham derby. Like it's his old team against his new team in his home country in his
yeah.
first fucking season. Like everything's lined up for him to have the greatest first year at Real Madrid ever. Like won Player of the Year, voted La Liga Player of the Year, wins the Champions League, wins the Euros. Only 21, 22 years old. Whole world at his feet. Deadly.
Or it's all lined up for the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, which is crazy. You'd feel for him. Like it would suck. Like if Sancho won the Champions League, England didn't win the Euros, I'd be very upset.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
not be happy.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I mean, like, I think everybody kind of assumes that Real Madrid is going to win, but I think everyone's at the same time is rooting for Dortmund. Like, I think we all kind
Yeah.
of like it's a Cinderella story. Like, you know, we covered it. Like, they sell all their players, they're in financial trouble always, and like, it would just be really nice if they won against this,
Yeah.
buzzsaw of a team. Like, and I mean, they can do it, but like, it's not probable. The last thing, like, I was thinking about this with the Euros, is that like, I know right now I see like in Europe, you see like a lot of tension right now with like immigration. Like in Germany, you have the AfD that are ascending. In France, you have Marine Le Pen, who 8 years ago, I remember like the idea that Marine Le Pen would get elected was just insane. And I mean, I don't want to talk about politics too much on this show because this is a sports thing, but like what role do you think that's going to play, especially this being in Germany, especially given that you know, uh, a lot of these teams, like for example, France, like most of the people in France, you know, are children of immigrants, right? Do you think that there's going to be like a huge clash along those lines at the Euros this year,
No,
or
I
do you
think
just put it aside and watch football?
I think that's the beauty of the sport. Football's one of those few things where like anything could be going on in the world, and you
Yeah,
know what? For 90 minutes, people will just watch a game, especially if it's good football, big teams. Tournaments can like steal the steal the show, steal the thunder. Like there's a few times in history, and they've all been World Cups, not Euros that I've remembered, but Italian '90, the World Cup. So the British football fans we were known as hooligans. We would go and fucking go abroad and destroy things. It'd be a huge problem. Italian '90 was different. Something football changed after that tournament. People were a lot more chill. There's still obviously hooliganism, but like there wasn't too many people just enjoyed the tournament so much. It was such a spectacle that everyone kind of just stopped worrying about the fans writing, and then everyone just sat down and watched the game. There were still obviously issues, but if you look at football before Italian '90 and after, there's a big switch. At least in
yeah,
English football, the fan mentality. Then you have France '98, where even back then there was big immigration issues. People weren't really the French. Apparently, I'm not speaking for them, but looking at the past documentaries, the football fans didn't really embrace that France team.
yeah,
They didn't feel it was a representation of them.
yeah,
Zidane, Algerian descent, Frenchman, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira. These are not people that was so super recognized with France. of
Yeah.
French people at the time, French culture. They go and fucking win the World Cups. They're down 2 goals in the final against a great Brazil team, an all-conquering Brazil team.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everyone's in love with this team. This is their French team. So it was kind of like a moral win and a sporting win.
Yeah.
So here, especially with this year, I think with the Euros, with all the fucking mess going on in Europe, you're hoping this will be a nice distraction. It'll put things aside at least for a month, and people can
Yeah.
just enjoy a solid tournament. Everyone turns up. I was never a massive fan of the Euros, and in fact, England had a terrible Euro 2016, but it's one of my favorite tournaments because I was in SF with you guys, and I
Yeah.
was just enjoying the atmosphere. We go to the bars down Haight Street and just enjoy the game. 6 in the morning, not the best time, but it was
Yeah.
just a great atmosphere. I fell in love with the Euros after that. I was like, the Euros are great. Like when you have a group of people to go watch it with and have a great time. The sun was always out when we were watching
Yeah.
it, and it's
Um,
amazing to see so many Europeans in the states. So it was perfect. So I think a tournament can do that. I think it can capture the hearts if all goes well.
yeah, I mean, there's that famous story of World War I, where like they stopped fighting
Exactly.
to,
Yeah.
to play football. Yeah, I'm kind of
Yeah.
hoping that too.
Just
That
for
like
yeah.
people could just like put stuff aside. Like I really don't like how in sport people, everyone's just like making a message. Like everyone's like doing the things. It's just like let's just watch the game. Let's just enjoy. Let's just put that stuff behind us and focus on how much we hate the French.
But that's the thing. I mean, even poor Jordan Henderson when he went to Saudi, again, it was to try and play as much football as he could
Yeah,
to get into the Cup squad at the time. It was a lucrative contract. I mean, if you know this, you got to remember these are people's day jobs. If someone offers me 20, 30x more, I mean, why wouldn't I go? Especially if it's just for a year or two. Like he didn't agree with any of their like laws and stuff. But you can't go into a country and assume you can change their laws or fight them like that.
yeah,
So you just have to kind of do your job.
yeah. I mean, like,
And the hate he got, like he's a big supporter of that community, the LGBTQ plus community. He's done a lot for them. They can be upset, but the hate he was getting and they started booing him at games, I was like, that's too much. That's over the. This is his day job. Like, it's not a true reflection. If he has to go in and he never saw a penny, that's the worst part. Of all this big money contract he was supposed to get, he didn't see a penny of it. So he just got all the backlash, none of the benefit. He was in the Netherlands, poor guy.
I mean, to like put like even like more of a point on that, it's not just your day job, which I completely agree with. It's also it's your day job that you can only have for 4 more years. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
imagine if at your job you literally were to get fired in 4 years and you couldn't do that job ever again. And it's like you get paid as much money as possible because you're like, look, like I spent my entire life on this. I want to make as much money as possible so I don't have to work again, so my children don't have to work. Like I can, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's terrible what happened with it. And plus, again, like I made this point yesterday, but like there's so many people taking Saudi money, taking Qatari money, taking Bahrainian money that like if you go to cut all that out, okay. But if you're only gonna critique one person, like half as I said, like half of Europe is owned by the Middle East. Like, like come on.
Sport washing is real. Like it's a real thing. It's happening. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I'm kind of glad the Qatar takeover didn't happen of United because they were just gonna use that to obviously wash away their nonsense as well. But yeah, to like villainize one guy that supported you lot for so long, supported every great cause. He's been a top bloke off the pitch. Obviously, he was a Liverpool captain. I hated him, but
Yeah.
off the pitch, sound geezer. Like, to get that much vitriol and stuff on top of not getting paid, and then he's come back, and all he wanted to do was just play. It's just he knew he wasn't going to get game time at Liverpool. In
Yeah.
hindsight, maybe he should have stayed. Klopp says he could have paid him a bit more. We should have given him a proper send off. But
I, I can tell you
sometimes mistakes happen.
as a Liverpool fan, I was happy that he was gone because I didn't want to kind of the same situation. I mean, he's not analogous because he's still playing at a high level, but I didn't want to kind of like a Tony Cruz type situation or a Modric type situation where it's like we need to play him because he has done so much with the club. But Jordan Henderson is really a step behind, and like our midfield is so much better without Jordan Henderson in it. No critique, it's just he's old and like
Yes, the
all
legs are
Liverpool
gone.
fans
Yeah,
that I talked to were happy that he was gone. We were happy for him
yeah,
that
exactly.
he
You're like
grew
good
up.
on you. Get paid, good on you. He then comes back to Ajax, and I'm thinking like his third or fourth game. The reporter's like, "So you don't know you had a bad game. Like you're playing terribly." I'm like, no one deserves this level of, like he's just getting it from all angles. The poor guy, like it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah. So one last thing, one thing I really like about this conversation we're having is that Uh, Typically, I would only watch the Champions League final once, but I think I'm going to watch it like 3 or 4 times to prepare for next week. Because next week we're just going to have to
Yeah, for
talk
sure.
about the
Oh,
final.
we'll have a tactical breakdown for sure. What do you think it's gonna? What's your uh,
Um,
what's your what's your
I made
sort
a
of
video
guess of what you
about
think is gonna happen?
this. I think 4-1, 3-1. You know, I think
Yeah,
there's
3-1. Yeah,
it's just but again, like if Dortmund win, like we laid out the case for them to win, I can see it happening. Like there is a case, but
yeah,
they need to. I think I told you this. Like I want so like when I play FIFA or when I played FIFA, I would like try to win the Champions League with every single team on like legendary world class, and so I did it with like
yeah.
11 teams. And one time I tried to do it with Olympiacos, and I managed to beat Man City, and like um let me tell you, I could only beat Man City once. But like, there's a way with Olympiacos to beat Man City, but it's not happening every single game. So you need to just have the perfect plan and execute it perfectly, and they can do it. But I don't see it happening. I see it being 3-1 Real Madrid.
Yeah, on any given day, anyone can be anyone. But yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be closer to. Speaking of Olympiacos, the Conference League final, it was 0-0 last time I checked. Oh, they did win. Olympiacos win their first. Oh, I feel for Fiorentina, man, losing back-to-back finals.
And losing, what's his
That's
name? Who did they lose to? Juventus.
in
Vlahovic.
the Copa. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Vlahovic, the striker. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
Olympiacos 1-0 winners. They beat Fiorentina, lost back-to-back final. Lost to West Ham last year. Now they've lost to Olympiacos. That's crazy. Italian
yeah.
teams have been doing well in Europe, man. Atlanta won.
So
Fiorentina were another final.
I have this feeling about uh counterattack versus possession, which is that like is more likely that a counterattack team is going to win, but it is less likely that each individual counterattacking team is going to win. If that makes sense. So like if like counterattacking teams are really good at having upsets. So like you're likely to see a
Mhm.
counterattacking team having an upset, but you can't predict which one it's going to be because it's going to be an upset, right? So Italian teams I think are really good in Europe because they have that upset mentality to them, and then they're able to have those types of upsets. But you know, as a deliberate strategy, typically you have big money teams who hold the ball for 95% of the game and they win, except for Real Madrid. Obviously, that's the exception.
Yeah, no, it'll be very interesting. Hopefully United don't get relegated to the Conference League. We can figure out this stuff with UEFA and even though Europa League's not the best, it's if we end up in Conference League, it's a disaster because that's still Thursdays and Sunday games for a tournament that's way below what we should be doing, just wasting valuable resources on. So hopefully we're not in the Conference League with Fiorentina next year.
So if you guys do, let's say next year you guys win Europa and you get third, is that a
Yeah,
success?
it's an improvement for sure because that'll be the first time I think and it's already the first time that a United manager's won 2 trophies in his first 2 seasons, even though
Yeah.
they're Mickey Mouse Cups. He gets the treble of Mickey Mouse Cups and wins the Europa League next year as well. So that's three back-to-back Mickey Mouse Cups seasons. And we finish in the Champions League. I wouldn't call it successful. I'd call it incremental improvements. For me, success is, you got to finish at least top two now, really. Even though, like, because it's always been Liverpool, City, now it's City, Arsenal. We need to break into that now at this point. Top two, top three. We did it last year. We were third, won the Carabao Cup. If we'd won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and finished third, it would have been a phenomenal season last year. This year didn't really go to plan. Um, I would take it. Obviously, I would take it third in Europa League because that guarantees you Champions League both ways. You get
Yeah.
third and you actually won the Euro, and it helps with the UEFA coefficient as well. I think Europa League winners go straight into pot one
Yeah. I I
when you're doing
I mean, like, I think that like the reason why I call it success is because like you can't win the Champions League next year. That's impossible. Right. So
it.
um it just seems like I mean, obviously for a team like Man U, like you don't want to celebrate in the Europa Cup, like it's kind of demoralizing. But at the same time, it's like, look,
Yeah,
if you do that, you're on the right trajectory, and then the
yeah, it's
year
progress.
after,
Yeah,
it's like we're ready to
should
compete.
kick off. Yeah,
And
put it
the
this
reason,
way: in hindsight, Sorry, go on.
No, no,
Go on.
continue.
I was just saying, in hindsight, if Ten Hag does stay for 4 years as opposed to three, he gets an extra year on his contract. It would be a huge it would be success if he won the Europa League next year and then kicked on and won either the league or the Champions League the year after. Then yeah, fair enough. You know what? A trophy in every season, and you've won one of the big two, either Champions League or Premiership in your tenure. Held up, head held high, like crack on. If it ends up being, and this could very realistically happen, he wins the Europa League next year, we finish third, and they kind of just don't renew his contract because it ends out next year anyway. Then they bring in like a Tuchel or someone. Ten Hag can still hold his head high. I think he's done a great job under very poor circumstances. I would just like to see for him win either a league or Champions League with United, just to have that in his
So
on his CV. Like I want that for him. I want United to win, but I want it for him as well. Well, he deserves to win a big trophy with us
if you
with
guys
all the shit
get,
he's put up with.
I think semis is like 90%. Europa semis, like I think there's a 90% chance of you guys getting there next year, right? So if you get Europa semis and third, and they fire Ten Hag, that is a
Yeah,
stupid decision. That is a
yeah.
stupid
It's
decision. Like because it's
we,
turning
we
around. Like
yeah,
that,
yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. I agree.
there's a trajectory.
And yeah, all we have to do then next year to win the Europa League is not play a Spanish side, or definitely not play Sevilla. That's it. We avoid Sevilla, we win the Europa League. It's a
Yeah,
fact. Avoid the
that's
Spanish team and avoid Sevilla, especially. We win the Europa League. I don't see anyone else stopping us.
so the
But
reason why I said
let's
third
see.
versus fourth though is specifically for that point that you mentioned, where like you have City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, which are like the top three. So
Yeah,
if you get fourth, then like it is kind of you didn't break in, you're kind of just like the passenger. But if you get third, then you broke into that top three, and you can
we're
legitimately
kind
say
of in the race.
we are.
Yeah, because for me, yeah,
Continue.
with under Klopp, under Klopp, Arteta, and Pep, we don't break in very easily. But the fact that Klopp's gone now, and Arne Slot could come in and have a worldy of a season, but just based off what I'm seeing right now,
Yeah,
and Liverpool for me are the most vulnerable of the three. Just the nature of the beast.
yeah,
If City lose Edison as a goalkeeper and they don't replace him, they're also very vulnerable. Then for me, Arsenal are kind of the toughest competitor on if everything else stays the same. So with Liverpool kind of losing Klopp, Villa I think will struggle like Newcastle did this year. Newcastle, we don't know how they'll do. We should really kick on and minimum be third next year if we get all our shit in order.
yeah.
There's no excuse why we should. And then like you said, if we get on a cup run, if we win another FA Cup, or if we win two trophies next year and get third, it's a brilliant season. Give him
I mean,
another
the thing
3 year
is, man,
contract. It's
a
clear
Mickey
progress.
Mouse trophy is still a trophy. I know people like to shit on
Yeah,
Carabao Cup, shit on FA Cup, and like I agree. Like like Liverpool winning the Carabao and FA Cup was a huge disappointment because we should have. I understand all that, but like it's still a cup, it's still a trophy, it's still an accomplishment, and I'd rather have a cup than like come in third. You know what I mean? Like that's just like come on.
that's a very interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting take because I use for a long time. I was like, I'd rather be higher up in the league and not win a cup.
I guess I'll phrase it differently. I'd rather finish top four than win a cup. However, or like if I had to choose between one. However,
Right.
5 years past, you're gonna point to the
Yeah,
cup before you point to the third in the league. And like that's
that's
important.
that's true. I mean, no one wants to say it. Ten Hag is a more successful coach in England than Arteta based on trophies.
Yeah.
Based on trophy, he's won Carling Cup better than Arteta, even though Arteta's done killer things. No one's gonna remember two second place finishes, even no matter how close it was, and not being beaten by any of the top six this year. No one's gonna remember that in 5 years'
Yeah.
time. What they'll remember is one FA Cup. That's all he's got. So I don't count the Community Shield. That's just criminal. One FA Cup. Ten Hag now has, and I like to point it at the Arsenal fans, he has a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup. And
Yeah.
again, if he finishes top three in the league, I think there's an argument there. Like, he's up there. He's chasing up to Arteta there. So let's see. Arteta needs to win something next year, whether a Champions League or a Premier League. Arteta needs that win now, just to sort
So
of solidify what he's done now.
I think I like what I think is kind of like the ideal trajectory for Man United is next year you bring in one or two players. Um, who knows where it is, but like you bring one or two solid players, win Europa, get third, and then the next year you guys push all the chips in and say we're winning the Champions League this year and keep Ten Hag. and I think that you guys have a shot because again, as I said on the previous conversation we had, like just on talent alone, Man United are one of the best teams in football. It's just the talent's not working together. So like once you guys figure it out, like the sky's the limit. Like
Just turn up. Like the FA Cup final, if they just turn up all the time. But that's the hardest thing is consistency. You can be good on your day. It's
yeah,
that the consistency over 38, 50 games a season is the difference between a Man City and a Man United.
yeah. I just want to say
That's
one
where it
last thing
differs.
about Liverpool because I know we this is supposed to be like 25 minutes, but it turned into an hour and a half, like all our conversations do, which is great. But by the way, and like I hate to like make like meta commentary. I feel like our conversations always get better when we go off script. Because like when we're going through the Euro squads, I felt like we were kind of like forcing it a little bit, but then like now we're just like free flowing. So I think that we should just never have a plan. We should just always just
Okay,
go.
whatever the news, mention the news topics of that week, and then just kind of our opinions and just flow with it. Really, probably just be the best. And
Yeah, but
any
I
rants if you want to rant. There'll be a lot of rants during the Euros. If England don't start fixing up, there will be a lot of rants on this show. There's tactical analysis if
I
Gareth doesn't get his shit together.
I do want to say one last thing about Arnie Slot though, which is I'm very optimistic by next year because like you see the Liverpool squad and they just look fatigued a little bit. They look a little bit and like I
Yeah,
know I don't want to compare these two squads. It's blasphemous to do so, but they seem a little bit like the 2012 Barcelona squad. Where like they were just kind of tired of Pep. And like they won a lot, they were happy, like no one was angry at Pep. They were just kind of tired of the dude. They were tired of the stuff and they needed a breath of fresh air. And I think that bringing Arnie Slot, like I think that everyone's going to feel a little bit more rejuvenated because the problem with Liverpool for the past 3 years has been mental. It really has been. Like if you look at Mo Salah's numbers after pre Afcon and post Afcon, the guy
yeah.
turns is Erling Haaland pre Afcon and then post Afcon turns into
Marcus Rashford.
yeah, exactly. Like it's like I'll actually tabulate this because I said it to a friend one time, so I'll look for the things. Like it literally like before the AFCON, he is scoring at a higher clip than Erling Haaland was last year. And then post AFCON, he like it's like a goal every 6 or 7 games. And so I think having Arnie Slot having I mean I don't know that much about Arnie, but like having like a breath of fresh air, I I'm calling it. We're winning a quadruple next year.
Oh please, I love it. Every time. That's my favorite start of the season. When the one season where Liverpool fans didn't claim it was gonna be their year was 2020, and it actually was your year. And
Yeah.
since then, I wait for that first game of the season. They're like, "This is our year, boys." I'm like, "Yes, good, perfect. You've jinxed it already. You've ruined it already. First game of the season, you've
Excellent.
ruined it. Perfect,
Um,
perfect. Exactly. Like, no one needs to beat them. They beat themselves. Oh, this is perfect. Just defeat yourselves. Let the rest play out as it."
well, one thing I'm sad about is that so like we have a lot of like songs for each of our players, and like all of our best songs are now gone. Like we have this one song called Klopp is a Red, which is a play on I Feel Fine. I'm so glad that Klopp is a red, that type of thing. And like all
Yeah.
these players just makes me sad. When Virgil van Dijk goes, we're just gonna have to. It's just gonna be crying for an hour and a half when he retires. But
I've heard the Virgil van Dijk song a lot. It's that based of like dirty old town, basically, and they're like Virgil van Dijk, and I'm just like,
he's
yeah, I'm
Virgil
sick.
van
I,
Dijk.
I
He's a
just I just call it dirty. Yeah, I just call it dirty old Van Dijk. I'm like dirty old Van Dijk, and the Liverpool they hate it so much.
I,
So
I
I'll be
actually
glad to see the
I
back.
never heard of that song
He's-
before the Van Dyke chant, but after that I looked it up, and now I
oh,
listen to that
really?
song all the time. Was that big in America?
Yeah, yeah. It's played a lot in the UK and Ireland as well, especially. You hear it a lot in Ireland at the pubs
Yeah,
and stuff. It gets played.
dirty
Liverpool
old
fans start
town.
singing.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. Yeah.
So we're gonna do a tactical breakdown next week, or we'll do 5 minutes of tactical breakdown and then just talk about the England squad. Who
Ad
knows?
hoc.
Who knows what will happen? And Ten Hag.
See what happens. Yeah, there might be a whole there might be a whole new list of managers by next. Like companies already in at Bayern, Maresca's probably in at Chelsea. If United have a new manager, that's going to be a big important topic for us next week. Let's see it's gonna be an interesting week. Let's see how it goes for the rest of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be good. It'll be good to break it down.
Have you heard the Mo Salah chant?
Which one?
If he's good
There's a
enough for
few.
me, he's good enough for you. If he scores another two, then I'll be Muslim too. And then
Yep.
it's if
There's
he's
that
good
one.
enough for
There's
you,
one.
he's good enough for me. Sitting in a mosque is where I want to be. You know.
Yeah, there's the whole. I mean, there was a running joke, like the number of like, especially Scouse kids that are going to be born, and like their first name's going to be, or their middle name will be Muhammad, just over Salah. Like
Yeah,
all these Catholic, all these Christian kids, and they have Muhammad as the middle name or the first name. Like, what is going on? They'll call him Mo for short, but they're like, birth certificate will read very interesting because people do that. Like, I know someone whose uncle named his kid, gave his kid Owen as a middle name of Michael Owen, hardcore Liverpool fan. Owen went to United, and you're just kind of looking at the guy like, oh, it's kind of a bad move now. Your son's United hero as well, and he was upset. He was livid. So you have to be
yeah.
careful with naming the players.
I'm gonna name my son Diego after Maradona and hope that he develops the same cocaine habit.
Oh.
um,
You'll match him in some way, at least. Yeah, you know, he'll have some habits similar, at least. The great man.
yeah.
Could be a good football, could be a good football, could be a good football player as well. You're like, nah, stick to the other one. Screw the
Stick the
football.
other one. Yeah.
Stick to the basics.
Well, that's a perfect place to end. But my drug addicted son. All right, I'll we'll talk next Monday, and hopefully the internet stays good.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well this time. So yeah, looks like you fixed it. Good shit.
Yeah. All right,
All
dude.
right, man. Take care. Yeah, I'll give you a shout
Talk
next
to you
week.
later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.